call the meeting to order. Would you please take roll?
Ms. Atkins?
Here.
Mr. Houston?
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Here.
Mrs. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Sorensen?
Here.
Mr. Wright?
Here.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2024 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. Commendation and good news.
So I have Mrs. Barker here to give us our good news tonight. She's going to give us some updates on Titan Hill. She's the last building that.
Yes, thank you
Present
for
to
your
us.
patience. I was scheduled to go the end of April it was, I believe, and I got really, really sick, so I missed the board meeting that night. So thanks for your
Is your
patience.
microphone on?
Oh, thanks.
It is, okay.
I think so. Thanks for your patience and waiting for me to get this done here in June. I have my computer just in case the writing is too small up there for me to see. So I just have some updates from Titan Hill. This is this was from early May, so this is our current enrollment and population. We had 230 second graders, 222 third graders, 226 fourth graders, 233 fifth graders. Pretty even split between male and female, not too big of a difference. 31 EL students, English language learners, and then 115 special education students. That number is now probably 119. We have qualified a few more since the beginning of May. Total students was 911, and our average class size is about 25, 26, depending on the grade. So here is the Titan Hill staff breakdown. We have 36 classroom teachers. We still have one open position for next year. We have 7 special education teachers, a half EL teacher, 3 title reading interventionists, 2 half-time shared positions for talented and gifted teachers. One of those is still open for next year, shared with the middle school. 7 special area teachers, 3 instructional coaches, 13 paraprofessionals, 2 principals, and 2 counselors at Titan Hill. These are our 3 expectations. These are very well known and common, both with our students and outside of the school. Be respectful, be responsible, and be ready to learn. However, the next slide are not as well known outside of Titan Hill, but if you ask any Titan Hill kid, they can recite all 4 of these to you. These are my big 4 expectations. These are expectations that after 22 years in education, I have found that every single student conflict comes back to one of these 4 things. So these are in posters all over the building. These are what we use when we work with students in the office for reteaching. We're hands-off. That doesn't mean we don't touch. It just means the way we play at school is not the same way we play at home. If someone says no, stop, or don't, your job is to stop right away. If you can't solve a problem peacefully, walk away or find an adult for help, and then be kind. And this rolls right into the next slide, which is our restorative practices. So Mrs. Hoffman, my assistant principal, and I have been using restorative practices for a few years now at Titan Hill. And this year we had our PBIS team that was also trained in some restorative practices to use in the classroom. So the restorative practices we use are student to student and student to teacher or student to staff. Basically, we believe that negative behaviors are an opportunity to learn and to build empathy. We continue to give consequences as appropriate, but part of our process is always to ensure that students understand why the action that they had was good or bad, what impact it had on others, so that empathy can be built. Understanding the impact of our actions is a large piece, and then taking responsibility for our actions. One of the most powerful pieces of our restorative practices is that we bring students together to share how the situation made them feel. And when a student can look another student in the eye and directly apologize or directly hear the impact that their actions had, whether it was good or bad, it really does build that empathy, and we see a big reduction in the same behavior happening again. We also work to repair the relationship and restore the trust. We do have these conversations with students and staff as well, and our staff has been really open to those. It's really powerful for a student to be able to sit down with a staff member and have that adult listen to how something made that student feel, even if the student was in the wrong, because everyone's voice deserves to be heard. On the next slide, this is our major referral data. So 1920 was my first year at Titan Hill. So that was the year I knew our data was clean because I was collecting it. I don't know anything before that. And that was also the year we closed due to COVID. Anything you see in green means it was a decrease in that month from the year before. Anything in red was an increase in that month from the year before. So you can definitely see the patterns after COVID. 2021, we have a lot of students in remote and lots of strict expectations and guidelines. 21-22 was when we ended remote learning. Some of these students coming back in the fall had not been in school for a year and a half. So there was a lot of reteaching. We had loosened up some of our expectations. So it took us a few months to get everyone back in the groove. Last year was kind of our first year where everyone had been there for a full year, and our expectations were pretty clear and consistent across the building. And then it kind of felt like this year was back to reality. We had our fall was a little bit higher than we've had. Our numbers are still pretty comparable though. And then in spring we started to drop off and see those declines again. On the next slide, you'll see what we do with this data. We use this each and every trimester and before all of our long breaks. And our PBIS team brings this data to our teachers. Our teachers analyze this data in teams, and then they do action planning with their team based on our school-wide data and then their grade level data as well. They find patterns, and they create action plans for that. One of the big celebrations this year was our SAMI growth. So our SAMI is our self-assessment of MTSS implementation. We do this each year, and we assess ourselves on leadership, infrastructure, assessment and database decision-making, universal tier, and supplemental and intensive tiers. This year, we self-assessed 4 of those areas. We are saving universal tier for next year because we are currently doing a lot of work there and adopting a lot of new resources that we're getting our teachers used to. So the biggest gains that we've seen are in those areas that we've focused on. This really has been the bulk of our work over the last year and a half since the last time we did the SAMI. So leadership, this tells us kind of where we're at in terms of, it comes on a rubric, so we want to be 75% above in all areas. So leadership, we are now 75%, which was an increase of 12%. Leadership doesn't just refer to the administrators in the building, it refers to all of our teacher leaders as well. Infrastructure is all the way up to 90%. Those are all of the systems that we create for our MTSS system to make sure our students are served and their needs are met, and that was an increase of 26%. Assessment and database decision-making is at 77%, which was an increase of 15%, and our supplemental and intensive tiers, our intervention, our special education, SDI was 64%, so that's an increase of 4%. We will look at the universal tier this next year at school. We'll do that mid-year, and then we'll be able to take a look at how we've increased in our universal tier as well. On the right, you'll see it broken down by content area. So in reading, we were at 79%, which was an increase of 26%. Math was at 80%, an increase of 26%. And social emotional behavioral health was at 72%, which was an increase of 19%. So this was really affirming for our staff to see that all of the work we've been doing in the building came out here to show us our successes. Last spring, after our ISASP, we were rated as commendable, was our performance profile rating. The previous year, we were also commendable. In 2021, we were acceptable. We are targeted year 2 for our IEP students. I think that one's on the next slide. So last year, our gap was about 13%. So in the fall, we'll see where our IEP students land officially on the ISASP. However, on the next slide, you will see that we've done work beyond just looking at ISASP scores, because that's one stride in time, right? So we have really been focusing on literacy with our special education population. And when we look at iReady reading, which is the measurement beyond ISASP that we use, last year in spring, we had 19% of our special education students at benchmark, and this spring we had 22%. The other thing we've really focused on is attendance. We've noticed that a lot of our students with IEPs are also our students with chronic absenteeism. So that's a huge barrier for those students. So that was a large focus for us this year for our attendance team. So last spring, we had 86% of our students with IEPs on track for attendance, and this spring we had 91% on track for attendance. Some of the ways that we're meeting our academic goals and increasing our student achievement is literacy-focused professional learning. So we've had so much literacy at Titan Hill this year. We've adopted the Fountains of Pinnell classroom, and we've implemented that, which includes 4 main components: interactive read aloud, reading mini lesson, phonics word study, and shared reading. Our large focus this year was interactive read aloud. And so we had Heinemann, a coach from Heinemann, come in and was able to do one-on-one coaching with every single classroom teacher in the building. When she left, she said that she had never been in a first-year building implementing Fountains of Pinnell for the first year, where she saw as many strong teachers as we had at Titan Hill. So that was really reassuring, and has even talked about coming and doing some model videos next year of some of our teachers. We also had our teachers, our writing lead team, piloting the Fountains of Pinnell writing mini lessons, which goes right along with FPC reading, and we'll be adopting that next fall. We also implemented evidence-based reading intervention, training and implementation, both in reading and math. So we had 2 reading interventions and 1 math intervention that we trained our teachers on that were evidence-based and systematic. Finally, we are continuing our letters training. That's something that Titan Hill has been working on for a couple of years. So we now have every single teacher in Titan Hill involved except for our 5th grade team, and they will be brought on the following year. In addition, we've had lots of MTSS-focused professional learning. Much of this is thanks to the Lewis Central District for providing this for us. We've had solution tree training. We've done data review protocols. Mrs. Hartman and Mrs. Kester have been integral in helping us with that. Intervention planning protocols, they've also been helpful in those. We have an additional diagnostic so we can better serve our students based on need. And we have a common intervention time, so our teachers are now sharing students, and it's a walk to intervention model, so we can address more students and drill down to the more specific needs that they have. We also do intervention check-ins halfway through each trimester and adjustment reviews, and then book studies and professional learning for our MTS champs, and Laura was a big support on this as well. Socially, how are we meeting our goals at Titan Hill? We're doing a lot of things at Titan Hill through our Titan Time. So when we provide time in the mornings for our grade levels to come together in PLCs, most of the time we will take the students into a grade level assembly, and we will go over expectations. Sometimes we do fun games, or we just get a consistent message across to our students. These are the results of our spring climate survey. We do one in fall and one in spring. And so 92.7% of our students feel safe on the playground, 97.3% in the classroom, 98.8% have an adult they know cares about them at school, 91.2% say that adults help them solve problems at recess, and 96.4% say that adults help them solve problems in the classroom. We do add comments to this, and so some of our students we notice, they are getting help, they just don't necessarily like the way the teacher is helping them, so sometimes that is also an issue as well. No strategies to get themselves in the green zone, 92.5% of our students do. The green zone just refers to our zones of regulation. So it helps our students identify their emotions and understand when they're getting escalated so that they can bring themselves back down. 94.6% feel good about the learning and growth at Titan Hill, and 93.8% know how to solve a problem peacefully on their own at Titan Hill. And these are all self-reported. There are tons of other things happening at Titan Hill, and a lot of these I know that you've heard of or seen, but there's a few on here that maybe you haven't. So I know you've seen the positive office referrals on our Facebook page, and please know that if I am like 10 minutes late posting one of those, I will already get messages from parents, because that is how proud they are of their child, and how every time their kid goes home, I want to see my picture on Facebook. So that's really exciting. Of course, we do Titan of the Month. We have student council at all 4 grade levels during the day, so no one gets left out due to a ride or lack of transportation. You all know about our Titan Hill musicals, our amazing PTA that is so supportive. We also have a staff relaxation room that was created, and that's been up for about a year now. We do our invention convention. We have Speak Up, Be Safe, which helps our students learn about different types of abuse. We have Love on a Leash, so Rizzo and Fran come with Rizzo is a therapy dog that comes and visits on Tuesdays. We'll be sharing Rizzo with the middle school next year. We also do a spelling bee, transition visits, and step up day. I'm sure you saw the videos of the dunk tank and our end of year dance. 3rd grade is a swimming unit. That's one that's not always well known in the community. Another one that's not always well known is our 5-star buddies. So these are high school students that come and mentor our elementary students. And then our big buddies are 4th and 5th graders who mentor our 2nd and 3rd graders. And that is all done through our 2 amazing counselors at Titan Hill. And I think there's one more slide, maybe. In addition to some other things, another one you might not have heard of is our outdoor classroom renovation. One of our instructional coaches, Katie Kinsella, has a passion for outdoor learning and getting kids into nature. So she is helping to lead up a renovation of our outdoor classroom to make that space a little more usable and more accessible to our students with accessibility issues at Titan Hill. In addition, community circles is also part of our restorative practices. So every single classroom at Titan Hill does a community circle every single morning to build community and build positive relationships within the classroom. DARE comes in every spring for our 5th graders. And then, of course, our PBIS store is very popular with the kids, and our raffle prizes typically come in the form of experiences rather than stuff. The kids can buy things with their points, but if they do raffles, they get to have experiences like snowball fights, or we had a luau. Sometimes they'll go for a scavenger hunt on the trace. They do all sorts of things with those. So there's a few things that have happened at Titan Hill this year and things that we do to make the experience special for our kids.
Is that it?
Any questions?
All right.
I don't think you're doing enough. Could you add a few?
Right, I know.
so much.
My kids love Titan Hill and what
thank you.
everyone does there, so I love it because everything you're saying, like, yep, it's all
Yeah,
of them.
good.
I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great news. I do have one question on the openings that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Are those in progress of interviews? Are you still looking for candidates?
On our tag position, we do have a candidate, so we, Mandy and I will move forward on that this week. And for our 4th grade position at Titan Hill, we do not have a candidate this time. So if you know anybody,
Advertising or?
if you know
There
anybody,
is,
yep,
yep.
pushed out on Facebook again, so.
Yep. So
Josh
there's
has been
that-
super helpful with that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yep.
Thank
We have
you.
A couple positions, I'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Any other commendation and good news?
I do not. I pushed my presentation back till the 17th for end of the year. Good news. So,
Okay. All right. But we are officially done with school.
We are officially done with school.
Okay.
Yes, that is a good thing. Yep.
Yes.
Staff is done. We do have lots of staff here this summer that are still working through either curriculum stuff, planning with teachers. We have summer school going on, so there's still quite a few staff around. But our students are those who are not in summer school. They're done. So
Okay.
and hopefully enjoying their summer.
I haven't seen my kid since last week.
Well, my
So-
wife is threatening to give away our kids already. It's only week 1, so.
Oh, I can relate to that. I think I was the only parent that is like doing the happy dance because the kids are picked up on the bus and going to
Yeah,
school.
that's my wife's like, oh, summer's gonna be so much fun. 3 days in, summer's not fun.
Yeah.
Good. Send them back.
Right.
So,
I was always, you know what, let's do year-round school. You know, you get off a few weeks and then you're ready to
Yeah.
go back, and it just seemed like that would have been nice. But, okay, we'll go on then to consent, our comments and suggestions. This is the first time during our agenda that anyone in the audience or anyone online, if they want to type something in, can address the board. Hearing none, we'll go on to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Do we have an updated personnel sheet?
Yes, there is an updated personnel sheet.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen,
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Report 6.01, Superintendent Report, Summer Project Updates.
yep, so I'm gonna give you a variety of updates. So summer projects, so the roof projects are officially booked online. You can find them both on the, we had to post them, kind of a statewide, because it's gonna be a big bid. So, posted on the IASB website. That's a perk that we get for being part of IASB is, we can post on there for free. So they're on there. I know that our company is engaged with several roofing companies in the Omaha metro area and southwest Iowa to make sure that we get plenty of options. So that'll be open for 2 weeks, and then it'll close, and then hopefully we can start on roofs, July, somewhere in there. So should be a fairly quick process. HVAC, we are meeting on Wednesday. Mr. Edelman and I are meeting on Wednesday with them. They've, again, kind of run into some logistical issues, and so they want our feedback as far as what direction to go. So I'll hopefully have more updates for you after that meeting. All the rest of our summer projects are just now getting started, so pretty soon we'll see everything from asphalt to concrete to painting to carpet, and you'll start seeing all those people coming and going here very shortly. Next week, generic updates. We are having a special education district-wide meeting on June 10th during the day. So we kind of talked about one of the things we'd like to do is create kind of a feedback opportunity for parents and staff to be able to give us some feedback on a variety of services. The first one we're going to start with is special education. So we've reached out. We got recommendations from teachers for certain parents. We're trying to balance it between elementary, middle, and high school parents. And then also all special education teachers and Green Hills AEA staff are invited to it as well. Lori Teese and I are going to lead it. It's going to kind of lead us through, the entire process from birth to identification to level 1, 2, and 3 services, transitional services between the buildings, transitional services from high school to real life and beyond. So it's going to cover, it's a pretty long meeting. Right now, I think we have scheduled for about 4 hours on Monday. So we should have approximately 20-25 people there, hopefully. So should be a good meeting. Mr. Housen, he's the board member has been invited to attend. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's just going to be a good opportunity to provide some feedback and the services we are providing, and a good opportunity for us to share maybe some services that we're already providing people don't know about. So both ways, it'll be good. So we also have our School Improvement Advisory Committee. We're trying to schedule a meeting to make sure that happens yet this summer. By law, we have to have one every year. Dave used to always lead it, and so it kind of got away from me because it wasn't necessarily on my list. So we got to make sure we get that scheduled and going. Current openings, we do have quite a few current openings. We still are looking for a 4th grade teacher, still looking for a kindergarten teacher, looking for a middle school language arts teacher, talented and gifted teacher. We're looking for a full-time school nurse, not our head. Amanda Clanton is our director of health services, but our director coordinator of health services. And then we have a full-time nurse that assists her that we're looking for. Athletic trainer, if anybody knows an athletic trainer out there, we would love to partner with them or hire them. And we do partner, if you guys approve that tonight, we'll partner with Ortho West to be able to, or Ortho Nebraska to be able to make sure that we're providing them the help they need to be successful in that role. Communications director, so Mr. Allen will be leaving us at the end of the week. He has a great opportunity in another role at a different institution, and so we wish him well. But we're going to look for just a standalone communications director. Some of the other services, Josh wears many hats, and so one of those. So we're kind of breaking off his hats, kind of giving them to different individuals, and then hiring back a full-time communications director. We do have some people that are already interested in that. Josh has done a great job of reaching out through his resources and kind of putting it out there and helping us find a suitable replacement. He will be, he has offered to, I guess I don't know if I talked him into it or not, but to come back on the 17th and do our board meeting then too. So make sure we get him some tasty treat when he comes back for that. He'll be missing that. And then we are looking for an HVAC person that's with a district as large as we are, with as many issues as we have in that realm. That's kind of a necessity. So hopefully we can, I think last time we went, was it over 2 years before we found one? So hopefully we don't go 2 more years before we find a new HVAC person. Always looking for paras, maintenance, custodial, bus drivers, monitors, etc. One thing to note is if we can't, just like every other district in the state is doing right now, if we can't fill positions, we are already looking at Plan B, Plan C, because that's just what we have to do. So, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we get some people that move to the area this summer and still need a job, and we can hook them up with a job. So, and then the last thing I'll tell you is, from what I understand, the bond petition signatures, they officially have almost 950 of them, so they need 814, so they will be presented to you guys on June 17th, and that just officially kicks off the bond informational process. So, but that's the plan right now. Do you guys have any questions for me? Okay.
All right. We'll go on then to our discussion items, 7.01 Ortho Nebraska Agreement.
So this is when you have an athletic trainer, you have to have a partnership with an organization that will provide the training and the ongoing training, the certifications, and so you have to have a partner. So in the past, Jenny Ed has always been the one to provide us their trainer. They've gone a different direction with that program. So now we have to hire our own trainer, which is totally understandable from their position. But we still do need a partner in order to do that. Ortho West, or Ortho Nebraska has stepped up and said, we'll be your partner in that. It also helps because, they have access to other trainers. So then if our trainer can't be there at a big event, they can help us find coverage, et cetera. So having a partner is really important. And this particular partner has offered to purchase advertising from us to help offset the costs. So they're going to purchase $10,000 in advertising to help offset the cost of that new employee for us. So,
Are there any questions?
So would the athletic trainer go through Ortho Nebraska, or they would be
No.
solely a Lewis Central?
yep. So they would be our employee on our payroll, our benefits. Excuse me. The partnerships, they would provide all of the training, the ongoing support, the ongoing certifications as part of their commitment to us. So we wouldn't have to pay for any of that. That's all value added, so.
Any other questions? All right, 7.02 bus purchase.
So we do, we're kind of in a position where we need to look at purchasing some buses. They're about 18 months out. That's the lead time on new buses. So if we place an order now, we'll have them about mid-year of the 25-26 school year. And so that's where I'm going to make the recommendation to go ahead and purchase some. Excuse me. If we get in a bind next year and we need more buses, we can always go back to the used route. The problem is the used market's just not there right now. So to make sure that we have something coming in a couple years, my recommendation would be to purchase the buses. Now, we wouldn't actually make the purchase. We have to put it on down payment. But other than that, you don't take the buses until they're finished. So you don't pay for the buses. So recommendation, we got two bids, one from Bluebird and one from Thomas. Bluebirds are significantly less expensive than the Thomas buses, and so that would be our recommendation. Now, these are pretty plain Jane buses. These are just, they're 84 passenger bodies, but 77 passenger seats. Gives them a little bit more leg room. When you put 84 actual seats in a bus, it gets real tight. So, so we have some pretty big kids, especially in our activities. So we would go 77 passenger. Obviously include the heaters, the cameras, all of the equipment that's required by the state, but, for instance, these won't have conditioning or air conditioning. Air conditioning adds about another, $35,000 to the bus purchase. So we have two really nice air conditioned buses right now. I said, let's just purchase some regular ones, and then next time around, we may ask for a couple more air conditioned buses, but these will all have seat belts. Any new bus that you purchase has to come with seat belts, so that has driven up the price also for a lot of these buses, but helps with the safety aspect as well. So you'll probably see this on an annual basis, me continuing to request two buses at a time on an annual basis, and then filling if we can find a used bus here and there, we'll probably do that as well, so.
Are there any questions?
We do have a fleet of about 28 buses, so 2 buses a year. We're still having 14-year buses, 14-year-old buses every time. These will be 14 years old by the time this rotation comes back around. So that's just, if you ask why 2, because otherwise they're 28 years old the next time the rotation comes back around.
Right.
So.
Okay, 7.03, stop arm cameras.
So what these are is this, last year we purchased 8 stop arm cameras for our busiest buses, the ones that actually have to stop on highways. So we have a lot of, even though when that stop sign arm comes out on a bus and you're supposed to stop and not go around it, we have a lot of people that do. They just drive right around the bus, which then creates a safety issue because our kids are getting off the bus a lot of the times and then crossing the road. So our buses, when they can, will actually veer off and cover the whole road so nobody can go around them. Unfortunately, we still have people then that'll pass us on the shoulder or they just don't understand the safety aspect. If you do get caught, it's an instant $500 fine if you get caught. And if you get caught numerous times, they can take your license. And so it's a big deal. So hopefully by having more cameras out there, and we'll advertise that we have more cameras, and we'll talk about the law and et cetera on social media, hopefully people understand that you don't drive around the bus when it's stopped with the stop arm, with the stop arm out. And if they don't understand that, then they're going to get issued a ticket. So that way, hopefully they learn, because we're talking about little ones' lives. So we are doing half. It is expensive. It's very expensive to do. So we have 22 buses that we need to do it with yet. We're going to do half now that are a lot of our route buses, and then a lot of our, because I just went through it with Mr. Skokin, and I just said what are our highest priority ones, and so we kind of identified 11. So we'll do 11 now, and then we'll do the other 11, which include like activity buses and those types of things in a year. It's just,
If somebody gets caught on the camera, will they be able to receive a ticket after the fact?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we catch them on camera, and then we send them to, Chuck will be, or Mr. Skokin will be responsible for sending that ticket to law enforcement, and then law enforcement will use that as evidence to ticket them.
Okay.
So, we used to do it all the time in Missouri Valley, until they'd stop doing it, so.
Definitely needs to be done.
Absolutely. Any discussion? All right, 7.04, Power School renewal.
So we do, Power School is our student information system, but they also offer a lot of other services that we utilize. For instance, all of our registration, our back-to-school registration runs through Power School. Now, we're going to have all of our applicant tracking go through Power School. Let's see, we talked about registration. Any of our records, that's like our personnel records, will go through Power School. And then student information system, we talked about that. And then the last one is, this is Smart Find Time Clock Plus. So this is our clock management system, helps us track professional development, professional learning, and then also helps us find our substitutes. So that's kind of a all-inclusive package. So, but for services, this is just kind of an annual. The new one for us will be the Smart Find Time Clock Plus one, and then also the records, because we used to do that through a different company. So we're currently in the process of making that switch. So.
Is there any discussion? All right. 7.05, Welding Bay Construction.
So we received 2 welding bids, or bay construction bids. Essentially what they include is the physical structure of the walls, all of the fireproofing, all the painting. We have garage doors and regular doors that have to be installed for egress. And then it also includes, all the electrical that'll go into the room. So it is, Anderson, we had two bids come in, Anderson Construction and Olson Brothers. Anderson's bid was a little less than Olson Brothers at $136,631. And they told me they'll be able to start as soon as you guys, kind of give the go-ahead on it. $100,000 of this is paid for, by Doc Rossick. So, and then on top of this, we'll have to purchase, equipment and, welders, and then we'll also have to do some HVAC work in order for ventilation to happen. So, and they're telling us it'll be all done by the time kids get here, which is great. And if you saw our enrollments, we have about 160 kids signed up for welding this fall. So, that's a lot of kids. And this will be 12 bays, so they can have class sizes about 24 kids. So, it should be pretty busy. And then, Mr. Schmidt, James Schmidt, who's our new welding teacher, he and I are going to meet this week and come up with a game plan to go around and introduce ourselves to local businesses who might be interested in partnering, either helping to support financially or with equipment or scrap metal or donation of scrap metal or donation of materials, or just strictly helping us make connections for those of our students who want to pursue this as a career, to be able to do some internships or job shadowing. They can come and talk. So he and I are going to come up with a list and then just go start knocking on businesses and seeing if we can get some more support.
So how much more do you think we're looking at for the like HVAC and the welding? How much is left?
So we probably have about $60,000 in equipment that needs to be purchased, and then we have probably another 80 or so, 80 to 100 in HVAC. Yeah, it depends. We thought we were going to be able to do these fume dogs that would have saved us quite a bit of money, which basically sucks all the fumes up into a filter system. The HEPA filter system is actually industry rated, but the city of Council Bluffs is requiring us to have a different ventilation system, which requires the air actually to be sucked out of the building, and then we have to, anytime you have air sucked out, you have to replace the air, so then we have to we're talking roof penetrations and everything else. So I understand why they want us to do it. It's even though the industry rated and Iowa Western uses them, that is technically I guess the safer way to go. So obvious err on the side of safety, so, but it is more expensive. So that's one of the reasons why, as new items have come up for summer projects, that I've started to just turn them down, because we need to make sure that we get this welding room done and done right. You kind of get one chance to do it, so.
Sure.
And in our CTE area, where is this?
So this would be in where the auto bays are right now. So when it's the auto bays, they have 2 auto bays because we have 2 lifts, and then we have the area where they build the mini house.
Okay.
It's going to go in the area where they build the mini house, and then we're moving the mini house over to one of the new bays that was built for set construction, and so they'll occupy the same space. So it's not, I know the fine arts people are a little bit bummed out, but I said unfortunately they'll still have plenty of space in there, especially if they get it cleaned up. So been working with Mr. Adkins on some storage things and different things we can do to make sure that there's plenty. I mean, there's more space in there than they'll ever need if they can utilize it, effectively. So it's just when you have, it's kind of like if you give them a warehouse, they'll cover every inch of that warehouse, so just need to make sure that we're providing, in order to offer more opportunities for students, sometimes you have to, you have to make room.
Right.
So you got to work together.
Okay. Any other questions? Right, 7.06, 700 policy series on the first reading.
Yep, so this is a big policy series. I'm going to go through some of the new ones with you and some of the changes. So the 700 series used to be It used to be called business procedures. Now they've actually changed it. So the name of it now is non-instructional and business services. And so they've kind of shifted some things around in here. So some new policies that have been added. Government accounting practices and regulations, fiscal management, so that was one. Some of these policies are put in to reflect changes in law, even when the changes, like for instance, the fiscal management one, it basically says we're gonna be fiscally responsible. I don't know, like any school that's, like
Not trying to do that.
trying not to be, I mean, we only got so many pennies, we gotta stretch them as far as we can, so.
Do we really need a policy
Yeah,
on that
it's,
one?
they really gotta spell it out, so, so that's one of the things in there. They put in some financial metrics in there. They do talk about fundraising within the district. They have for the federal government, they put in, some restrictions on vendors, contractors. This is mostly like foreign companies, to make sure that they're properly vetted. We didn't have a credit card and procurement card policy, so we added that in there. Another policy, again, this is kind of a redundant one, like it's called expenditures for a public purpose. Like essentially all the expenditures we make have to be for a public purpose, which that's all we do anyway. So but if they want to make it a policy, that's fine too. Again, these are all policies that completely reflect the IASB, the Iowa Association of School Boards, policies that we have subscribed to since forever. And in 2000, I think is when, 2001 is when we adopted all of their policies for verbatim. So these are just, it's quite a process to go through and compare word to word all of these policies. So any changes I made, you'll find in red. If anything was omitted or taken out, you'll find it as something that's crossed out.
I'm not sure if I'm having technical difficulties,
Did
but
you get the
it's
second
only
one?
pulling up policy.
Check the second email below.
Second.
I sent a reply. I did the wrong.
Oh, gotcha,
Yep.
thank you.
So yeah, and then there was some things about school lunch program, nutrition stuff. I did change, there were still some areas in there where they, like for instance, in a lot of the transportation stuff, it would have listed operations director. Well, we no longer have just an operations director. Now we have an operations director and a transportation director. So I would change the name to transportation director. They had in a few areas, they had Andrea's role listed as school manager. Well, really, she's a school business official. So just some little ticky-tacky changes in there. They have a new policy on vending machines that you have to be, in order to have a vending machine, that we're going to monitor if it's open during the school day and make sure that the products that are in there are meet the Food and Drug Administration standards for a public school.
Yeah, I think at the high school, they just turn them
They
off.
just turn them off, yeah.
during
So,
the day.
yeah, but if they wanted to have something, like for instance, sometimes it's a lot for our nutrition people to have all that stuff sitting there and they're selling it. Like if they ever get to the point where they're short-staffed and they want to put all those items in a vending machine. So you could put things that meet the requirements that they're selling anyway. You could put them in a vending machine and kids can go get their own stuff. They moved the responsible technology use and social networking policy. It used to be policy 401.13, staff technology use social media. They moved it into the 700 series. That I don't know why, but they did. So we're gonna mimic it. And then they removed, the big ones they removed were just the fixed asset management system. So they actually included that in like the expenditures for a public purpose. They just have a little thing in the bottom that says that the superintendent will develop a fixed management system. So I think they just put that in there rather than have a standalone policy. Probably honestly because not a lot of people followed the policy anyway. What they were requesting us to do was quite an arduous process where absolutely everything was labeled and accounted for, and it's supposed to be everything that's that's over $250 in cost. And the problem is everything's over $250 in cost. Like you can't buy anything. I can't buy a chair for less than that anymore. So they no longer require from the state level you to submit any kind of report. So I think they just took that out, and now it's kind of up to the districts to determine how are you going to manage your assets, and then making sure that you do have tabs on it. So, and then So that's kind of the 700 series. Again, this is just kind of the introduction. This is it's called the first reading. There's no action tonight. You guys will just, the next 2 weeks, if you want to peruse through it and come up with any suggestions. Again, these are straight from IASB. So, and then the next board meetings when you guys would take formal action on them.
Okay, can everyone open the link?
The new one, the
Yes.
new link,
The
okay.
link? Okay, all right. And then just review it, since we just got it tonight, just review it before our second reading.
Yep.
Which we will vote on
Correct, yep.
the next meeting.
If you catch anything before that, just let me know, so. In reviewing all those policies, sometimes words just become mush on a screen, so.
Okay, any questions? All right. 7.07, employee request for leave. Per Iowa code, we are allowed to go into closed session for this. Can I get a motion to go in closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheppel?
Yes. Okay, we are out of closed session, and now we're on to comments and suggestions. This is the second time during our agenda that anyone in our audience or anyone online, if they want to type anything in, can address the board, if anyone's listening. All right, hearing none, we'll go to action items. 9.01, Ortho Nebraska Agreement.
Madam President,
Mr.
I'd
Houston.
like to make a motion to approve the agreement with Ortho Nebraska for our athletic trainer.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.02, bus purchase.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 buses from Bluebird for the total of $337.98, or sorry, $337,098.
Second.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, second.
Oh, I did
Sorry.
not hear that. Okay, any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.03, stop arm cameras.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 11 stop arm cameras from the school bus sales company for a total of $43,285.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.04, Power School renewal.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve renewals for Power School for a total of $103,689.13.
Second.
And any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.05, Welding Bay Room Construction.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to award a contract to Anderson Construction for the construction of the welding bay room in the high school for the total of $136,631.
Second.
Did you second?
Second.
Okay, I did not hear
Am I
that.
that quiet tonight?
You are. Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. 9.06, Employee request for other paid or unpaid leave.
Madam President,
Mr. Houston.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the unpaid leave for the employee as discussed. Oh,
Paid.
sorry.
Yep, other paid.
I'd like to make a motion to approve an other paid leave for the employee discussed in closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? I heard that. Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Adkins?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd?
Yes. When we were at our consent agenda, I almost asked all the board members to vote no, because then maybe you wouldn't have to leave. But thank you for all you've done for the district, and we wish you well. And I guess we'll see you in a couple weeks. We'll see. All right. Items of interest, future board meetings. Regular board meeting will be June 17th at 6:30. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? You can stay.